the special meeting of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee meeting to order for August 24. Ms. Springer, could you provide the roll call to establish quorum?
Yes, I can, Chair. This is roll call for HES meeting, special meeting, August 24th, 2021 at 10 o'clock a.m. Honorable Paul Begay. Honorable Paul Begay is on the line. Honorable Pernell Halona.
Halona is present. Thank you. Good morning.
Honorable Pernell Halona is on the line. Honorable Carl Slater.
Delegate Slater present.
Honorable Carl Slater is on the line. Honorable Charlene So.
Delegate So present.
Honorable Charlene So is on the line. Honorable Daniel So.
I'm here.
Honorable Daniel So is on the line. Honorable Edison Wanika. Honorable Edison Wanika is on the line. Chair, you have 6 members present. Answering roll call.
Thank you, committee members. Appreciate this for all present. At this time, let me call on Honorable Paul Begay to provide the invocation for us. Start this meeting today. Che, would you do us the honors?
Che, Kodoshi, citizen Behadati Trito, Ibn Shia, Catholic leader. Nekadi in Lini. Here, the Penny be called Johanna Free Cardo, Jaya, Chopana, the called the Latin Trinity, the Yahalongo, Latin Health, Education, and Human Service, for Diego Hotego. It echo a Latin Lido lesson, Tato Nana for Koebi a so Krigo has uncle a Baho North. Ado Sabit and update Ahida than Lingo, Tabi Asso. Ado Hanet on the trade or leaking ye hotel. A topi it as the Hoko Quadia. We hit on load on left or Quaia Sad Lini, when he caught the Lord, Adon Sahakis. Adon had Amin Linki, when he caught the Lord. Yateko ia ati niftishin di corner having clingy. Ado ia kashi ia koe. Hato zisto pensaki sobda do tli to dan so nahabul humlo. Nahabka di lo to yateko ia. Wahone tsan ko to jungo akido to tili tego. Nature. That it he had what sisto in the bandit indo leto ado iya inta huit ado le ko shehet I kode hanan sin klado sa iya ish han bibi iya ko ego lati to ko hashin za de iya neta iskla sande da huit لكن ده حكيده نبنا نشدي خداعته مخبرهم لونكو كودي كونية باكيني تنودي عدوية Health, Education, and Human Service Committee members need plenty code an the cadi law. Ko yet ego either adoipa reportion meeting da could ego the foreign band that to other don't have the non habit on ado budget hearing based on now Janada has got actually the part that we need to so case you don't have to been a car deal to Lango if it ever now Sholongo ia quite at the more DBK or arc called and so yeah he didn't eat on the car deal. I don't hear on the has uncle added خالشنا تاني نان دون خالشنا نيكيد كده فين نخبكتن إيدون خبا خلّا في تهتفيدون تتنهو أحدي نحشي حقنتي أيكو إياه نخالنا نتيجو إياه شكناه الشارو نحصان دام شكتسقان دي كت إيكو إيجاحنا نتكون إياه نلا بيجي تفهي إيبل كتن من دولك الأشمون ده نخاخل يادو لك تاكل يتسن دولك خالت إيكو إياه تاكل ياكو دي تفهي دي إيدي نشيتي اللي تو إبن مشي تاكل يادو لك نشيتو زي بكي نبالو يهدي يلا تخلنا كيس كل يهدي هذا إياه إسلام تحقان ديس إيه كنت إيكو إياه أنا دون خارج ندون هيك بيدا دي تسلو كنت إيكو إياه بيدا أخوي يادو أرد أرسليا نخا خليا نجين عند خاين نخبا خليا زي إندن زي نخادن أرد حاشن سبويا عند إيكو زي إندن لون بس نخبا عشان زي خبا خليا دو لا دا إيدو دا كويتشي دي كون نيكدا ديز إن هارسن خبر سنلا سواء إيكو لا بيدا دي تزهيجي ده نيكدا تنزل دولي خا خليا دو مش هذا هي سنتكار دات حاشن زاكون شندات بتشا كيغون خايا تا كونيتون أن تنسن دولي هذا تدا نحو بخدا جهيجي تدا أخذ نخا كونيتون دولي كودا كونيتون تيجو إياه نقال دات دولي هنا نشيل إنكو كو إيجو إن با ناي كونديشن هذا شيء بيكون عشان كودا نحكي كناني لا تو نخصم زين نحكي كوين لا كودا كيا سهودا لا تنجم كهتيجو شلا تتوكل حنات جيت أو شلا تخرجون ده حتى تنجم كهان ده تون داشتان كهتيجو حاجي كدولش بخرجون ده باهيك نسي كدا كهتيجو يكون في كجدلي دولش بيكام هذا دي خبيجنا هذا الشيء أطيب بنجح بهشتى دي نهتول شجدات هذا كودات هذا هي خكدا تشندهم تلاقيدا يكون هشتى نهتول بنجح هشتى دي نهتول شبيكا هذا دار كده خبا خليا أو شيء ده زيدو بيكيدو شديدا بتخاف ده بخالي نخبا خليا دوسي ده خايدا نخبا خليا ليه نقل الشدياتي ده بغني ده شو ده نخبا خليا كيان ده بيتملي كده خبا بيجي تجري ده للتودا ده هذا وقت اللي ده حلون كده بعدين نخاف كده بأخذ ليا ده بنيل مدولة كي كبل نحشة وتيجو بنيل مدولة شيكا نفسك إيه دي بنبي كتو سودزين جنا نيليا دولة تو يو تو بعدين يبدي نيكو كيهش شيكا دا كويتشو دا عشان نفسك إيه دو عشان نلا عشان تيجو بني كي هجت ليه بعدين نفسه سودزين إيش هذا يوفي كنيجي يوت agents Christ in the case of this symbol. Amen.
Yeah, it's a check. You know, need to never put in though, and she not on in the clinic. I get her. So she, I sick, but she needs be thankful for all the blessings. With Ayla committee members, does anybody have any announcements?
No announcements. No.
Okay, let's go on to recognizing officials and visiting guests.
Oh, Mr. Chair?
Yo, Go ahead.
This is
Benali.
Angelia Benally, the advisor for HES. I kind of have an announcement about the public hearings that are going on regarding the Navajo Nation School Reapportionment or Apportionment Plan 6. And those public hearings are being held for yesterday was at Tuba City, the in-person meeting from 9 to 12. Today it's at Chinle Chapter from 9 to 12. Tomorrow is scheduled for Shiprock. However, the Shiprock chapter is they have a damaged roof, leaking roof, so they're not holding the meeting. And the public hearing is being relocated to the high school Performing Arts Center. And we're going to be putting up a sign notifying the public of that change of location. And the Thursday is going to be in Crown Point at the NTU. And Friday is in Fort Defiance at the Fort Defiance chapter. And in the afternoons are the Zoom meetings from 1 to 3. And the Zoom information is available in the legal notice, in the public notice that was in the Navajo Times. And I believe it's on the Navajo Nation Council's website as well, if the public would like to leave a public comment on the Zoom. Also, there's the other options for individuals to mail their comments in and to email the comments in as well. Mr. Chair, and also if the HES committee could look at their schedules to see which of these forums that they can attend in person to represent the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee for the in-person meeting and the Zoom meeting. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Benali. So Honorable Slater has volunteered to go to the Chinle one. Tomorrow is the Shiprock. Honorable Charlene, so is there a chance that you could go to the in-person meeting for 3 hours tomorrow?
Yes,
Kokoshila, that's great. I'll be on Thursday. I'll be at the NTU, and any of the other committee members want to come, because I think that's where the most public commenters will be. Friday, if Mr. Honorable Halona could be at Fort Defiance Chapter House. Really appreciate that. So we'll go to item number 2, recognizing officials and visiting guests. So the folks on the call, you could introduce yourself. The committee would appreciate that.
Bennett, Shania, Chairman. So, Shea Elsa Johnson in Shea, US EPA Region 9 Superfund Division, Ado Patrashanan Shnati. Ado the Quinnis, Ashi, Question, his the Houtney's net all this, Obatra, she's cut. Sona Chilagarian, Tribal Lands Cleanup Section Manager and left. Ado Jesse Cass, Remedial Project Manager and left. Ado Danielle Hung, Remedial Project Manager. Ado Krista Brown, Project Manager and left. Oko a large and Has Dahiki Will Duncan, the Tribal Lands Cleanup Section Superfund Assistant Director and let go. Ishin that's a dinner and that's it. A day with that call. Yet a Bennett Arnold so do he have.
Yeah, and then Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman, so and Vice Chairman Slater, all members that are standing, Shea, Dr. Rina Yazi, in Shiatanis, Shlatachini, Bashis Chin, a Shin, Dashanada, Torich in Lashichenat Ani Nasda. I am here representing Ms. Emily Arviso, VIE. We have a number of meetings, consultation, and trainings going on today, so she's unable to attend. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Chairman Daniel,
Yeah,
so
Dave,
this is, I just, for the record, I'm on call now.
Who was that? There was
Good night,
interruption.
this is Chair Smith.
Oh, okay, Vice Chair Raymond Smith, Attila. Thank you for calling in. Who else?
Yeah, it have been Chair, Mr. Daniel So, Honorable So, Shay Daryl Yazi and Shiaro. I work with Navajo EPA Superfund. I manage Navajo Superfund. Myself and my staff are also available on the call with you today. Yeah, thank you.
Chairperson, Mr. So, James Benali, in Chit, Business started Kanazan, Atlanta, Ado, Okaya, and Hidini, the Ado Kudo, Otan Hasido, the Cat.
Yate Bennett, this is Dan Melquin, Navajo Nation Department of Justice, Natural Resources Unit. Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee for allowing me on this, allowing me at this meeting. Thank you.
Yat Eshache, Ashanat Anoshani, Besh Bahasa Anan, Perfilia Fowler, Division Director of Human Resources. I am on the call in addition to another call. Yeah, Che.
Sheila. Okay, thank you for all the folks on the call. Miss Angelita Benali. We'll go to item number 3, reviewing and adopting the agenda.
Okay, Mr. Chair and members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. You have your proposed agenda of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee 24th Navajo Nation Council special meeting, August 24th, 2021. Presiding the Honorable Daniel Iso, Chairperson, Honorable Carl R. Slater, Vice Chairperson. Place is via Telecommunications, Winter Rock, Navajo Nation, Arizona. 1, call meeting to order, roll call, invocation, announcements. 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. 3, review and adopt the agenda. 4, review and adopt the journals, none. 5, receiving reports. A is the Cove Day school site temporary closure due to the environmental radioactivity concerns in adjacent locations. Presenters are Elsa Johnson, US EPA, and Dr. Jill Jim, Executive Director of the Navajo Department of Health. B are the survey results of the at-will employee. Presenter, Dr. Perfilia Fowler, Division Director for the Division of Human Resources. C, Valtex, a legislative concern number 23 regarding repairs and maintenance by the 4th quarter. Presenter is Dr. Jill Jim, Executive Director for the Navajo Nation Department of Health. 6, old business, none. 7, new business. legislation number 0160-21, an action relating to the Health, Education, and Human Services and Navajo committees supporting the United States Senate Bill S 1895 title, the Indian Health Service Sanitation Facilities Construction Enhancement Act. The sponsor is Council Delegate Raymond Smith Jr. B is legislation number 0165-21, an action relating to the Health, Education, and Human Services and Navajo committees supporting the implementation of the Tribal Remedy Framework to address educational transformation to meet the needs of the Indigenous students attending the state of New Mexico public schools, supporting the introduction or similar versions of New Mexico House bills titled Native American Language Education Unit Yazi Lawsuit Response Funding, Native American Library, Internet and Education, and Yazi Lawsuit Higher Education Funding, supporting any future New Mexico House bills related to the Tribal Remedy Framework in future state legislative sessions. Sponsor is Council Delegate Daniel Iso. 8, close of meeting, announcements, and adjournment. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Benali. Committee members.
Chair, I'll
Motion,
motion to adopt the, I'll second, but I would like to make a comment real quick.
I'll recognize Honorable Slater motion, and then who was that? Was that Honorable Wanika?
Yes.
Okay, I'll recognize your second. In that regard, Honorable Slater.
Thank you, Chair Shania. Dr. Fowler had requested an extension on reporting back the findings of the survey. And I think she had asked to put that off for 2 or 3 weeks while we move through the budget cycle and some other items. So I'd like to honor that request so we can get a full accounting and not have half a report presented back to us. I think they still may be conducting the survey as well. So I guess in adopting the agenda, I would like to delete that report, and then we'll make a note for Ms. Benali to bring it back 3 weeks from now, unless the committee would like to do it sooner.
Committee members, let's see. September, that first week, we have the special budget session. So perhaps September 15th. You think that's enough time, Honorable Slater?
I think that would be good. I think just everyone's schedules are super jam-packed right now with budget season, and then of course our apportionment. So, yeah.
Okay. The other committee members, last week on the 18th, when we adopted the Cove Day School presentations, there was several presenters that were not available. So by a vote of the committee, that item was set to August 25. But due to miscommunication on my part, it went to the 24th. So committee members, the Cove Day School issue in correcting that miscommunication, a new agenda has been sent out, is posted as of before 10 a.m. All the Cove Day School related matters will be on tomorrow's agenda. So Ms. Elsa Johnson and all the folks that she introduced, Mr. Daryl Yazzie, they'll appear before the committee tomorrow morning, including Sharon Pinto, Bart Stevens, Lester Sosi, and I can't remember the individual that was also named to be heading the issue from the Bureau of Indian Affairs Facilities, FMBS, was it? DM, Department of Facilities, Maintenance and Construction, I think was the office. So they'll all appear before the committee tomorrow at 10 a.m. So with that miscommunication, we'll correct it by deleting that report from today's agenda, as well as to abide by Dr. Fowler's request. Committee members and all the folks on the line, thank you for calling in. But again, miscommunication on my part. I'd like to have as many people that have information on the Cove Day School situation to be on tomorrow's call. Committee members, Honorable Slater, Honorable Wanika, back to you.
Has this been worked out with all of the presenters? I didn't catch that part. Are they available tomorrow?
From the regional office, Cheryl Curley, Tribal Liaison, Bart Stevens, and Lester Sosi will be available. And the email was also sent to Ms. Sharon Pinto out of the Washington, D.C. office.
Chair,
Chair,
that'll be the whole, this is the Wanika.
That's fine by me.
Thank you. So with that change in the proposed agenda for the folks that were on the call for Cove Day School, you will be on the agenda for tomorrow morning. Committee members, Ms. Springer, with that change in the agenda, could we have the roll call vote?
Yes, Chair, you may. This is roll call vote for reviewing and adopting the agenda. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote? Green. Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Honorable Purnell Halona, how do you vote?
I will vote green.
Honorable Purnell Halona votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Daniel So, how do you vote? I'm sorry, Honorable Edison Manika, how do you vote? Honorable Edison Manika votes green. Chair, you have 5 members in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you, Ms. Springer. So that brings us to item 4, regarding the journals. There being none. Then we go to item 5A with the amended agenda. Then the first thing on the agenda would be then Dr. Jim and Miss Valerie Jones to present the Daltex facilities report. Ms. Jones, Dr. Jim, are you on the call?
Good morning, Shana. This is Dr. Jim. Can I check if Ms. Jones is on the call as well?
Sure.
Good morning, Dr. Jim and Honorable Chair. So I'm online. Thank you.
Okay. Shana, good morning. I'm ready to present on the town hall, but I wanted just to thank the committee for putting this on the agenda. And I wanted to defer the presentation to Ms. Valerie Jones. She's the Health Services Administrator for the Division of Long-Term Aging and Support Program or Division. So with that, Shana, I just wanted to acknowledge the acceptance of the report and to fulfill the legislative concern 23 and have Ms. Jones do the presentation and also answer questions as well, Shana.
Okay. Committee members, last Friday, I had shared an agenda item. Number one, and forgive me, let me defer to, I had reached out to Dr. Hammett to basically explain to the committee the respective Delta variant and the new variants that are coming, Epsilon and Lambda, and there's a new one, Gamma variant. And I wanted Dr. Hammett to basically lay those items out before the committee. And then I had asked Dr. Jim, what can the committee do to help you, I guess, address those new surges? And she emailed me the aspects of a report. And actually it was that should have been the report for today. Again, through miscommunication, that didn't occur. And that needs the involvement of all the IHS hospitals, the involvement of all the 638 hospitals. And it didn't occur, and to add it would have caused too much of an uproar. So in talking with Dr. Jim this morning, I'm thinking of convening a special HES meeting on Friday, because this surge really is coming hard and fast. And we may end up tying up a lot of ICU rooms, and end up tying up a bunch of emergency rooms throughout the whole area. That's how come it was kind of an urgent matter. So, but since it didn't get communicated right, I'm going to ask the committee at the end of the meeting to convene a special meeting so that we can hear from all the folks that I just named off. With 8 committee members. So please, and I had shared what Dr. Jim had presented as a way to address these matters. That didn't occur. So the only thing that's on the agenda right now is the Daltex report. And I just want folks on the line to know that the committee is really concerned about this new surge, and may just put us right back at color red again. Shanantai committee members. Now we'll go back to what's on the agenda. Adultex facilities report. Yeah, Dr. Jim, for communicating your concern last week. And we'll try to address it ASAP. Thank you. Ms. Jones,
Yes, sir.
you have the teleconference floor.
Thank you, Chair, sir. Good morning, honorable members of the HES Committee. This is Valerie Jones. I'm the Health Services Administrator with the Division of Aging and Long-Term Care Support within the Navajo Department of Health. So I emailed a log of repairs and maintenance to everyone this morning, as well as all of the senior center appliances that we have received thus far. So per the log of repairs, it lists all of our agency offices. So we've got Chinle, Fort Defiance, Shiprock, Tuba City, and Crown Point. Also, we've got all of our agencies listed, and then the senior centers by name. So with the Excel sheet that I had submitted, as I stated, there's the agency name, the senior center, whether it's closed or not. We had to put whether it was closed or not due to the pandemic last year. I think most of our workers some of our workers had been affected by COVID, so some of our centers were closed. And then we've got the senior center name, the date when it first occurred, the description of the issue, and then what we've been doing to try to resolve these issues. Now for Chinle, we've got some telecommunication issues and equipment that need to be addressed. We have been in contact with Frontier and NNTU to try to repair some of these service lines and internet access for our senior centers. And the reason we're doing this is because it's very difficult for us to continue and maintain communication with our senior centers being so far apart in rural areas via Zoom. So we are trying to address our internet issues. And then we've got Rough Rock Senior Center, who's got septic tank systems. They're constantly filling up and backing up into the building. We have been asking for or looking for funding to address this issue. And actually, we're going to put this with the ARPA funding, and hopefully it gets addressed through that source. Then with Fort Defiance agency, they don't have an office. Currently, all the staff are working from Fort Defiance Senior Center. We would also like to add this to the ARPA funding. And then with another issue with Fort Defiance Senior Center, their AC needs to be replaced. We're looking into getting quotes for the AC repairs, and this is also going to pend ARPA. Shiprock, we're looking at HVAC issues, fire safety inspections for all senior centers, and this is also pending with ARPA. Tuba City, they've got flooring and ceiling issues with Tonalea Lake Senior Center. The chapter was looking at remodeling the senior center as soon as there were funds, but we're also putting this with the with ARPA. El Jeto Senior Center has HVAC issues as well. We have been looking to work with the chapter, but at this point, we're looking more towards seeking other funds, possibly through Utah. And we're also putting this with ARPA funds. Tuba City, Bird Spring Senior Center, HVAC issues as well. We are looking at putting this with ARPA. Crown Point Agency, Pueblo Pintado is another one that's on our repair maintenance list. Their entire building just needs replaced. And this is another one that we'd like to ARPA. We have been trying to get and New Mexico capital outlay in terms of getting construction done. But this also lies with CPMD, so we are working together to see how much funding is available and when we can get started on this. With Eastern Agency or Crown Point Agency, Ojo Encino, they need new floor tiles, electrical fixtures, and they need their septic tank cleaned out. Their grease trap also needs cleaning. Like we have been working, or we're trying to resolve this with the senior center. But we're going to probably pen this with ARPA as well. Yampato is another senior center with water heater issues. They don't have hot water in their restrooms, and we're looking at addressing their fire alarm system as well. We have ended this with ARPA. Orion Senior Center is a senior center without telecommunication, and we're also looking at their security lights getting installed. We are waiting for New Mexico funds, New Mexico House Bill 2 funds, so we'll take a look at that once we get that. Well, the contract has been approved. It's just a matter of the paperwork and getting the business units official. White Horse Lake Senior Center within Crown Point Agency needs a new ice maker and air vent for their dryer. We will contact New Mexico in purchasing these items, and I think we're going to look at the New Mexico capital outlay for these equipment or appliances. And then Lake Valley Senior Center within Crown Point Agency, we're looking at the renovation of the building and the showers. The HVAC needs to be replaced. Kitchen cabinet replacement. And we are looking at the state of New Mexico for this one to see if we can get any funding from them to address these issues. With Crown Point Agency, Chachalca Senior Center, the water heater is leaking. We are trying to work with New Mexico, the state of New Mexico on this one to address this issue through the New Mexico capital outlay funds. Baca Senior Center, they have a water line break. We're looking at repairing their floor tiles. They need a new HVAC. Their roof is leaking. Their water heater is leaking. They need new windows. They need new doors. So we have been in contact with New Mexico and trying to get funding for all of these issues. We are also working with CPMD to take a look at a construction assessment. Trying to pen this with ARPA. Smith Lake Senior Center is another one where is a senior center without an alarm system that needs to be repaired. And this is one that we are also looking at working with New Mexico capital outlay funds to assist. But in the meantime, we're putting it with ARPA, our ARPA source. And then there's the Red Rock Senior Center. They have electrical needs, and we're trying to get this outsourced through an electrician, but it appears that there needs to be a service contract that needs to take place. That will take some time. And this is one that we're pending with ARPA. The Rue Senior Center, they need the lights. Their HVAC is also not working. We are in contact with New Mexico Capital Outlay to see if we can get this taken care of through New Mexico Capital Outlay funds. Crown Point Senior Center, they need street lights. They need ceiling panels. They need doors. They need parking lot. And I think with all of our senior centers, they all need ADA compliant. They need to meet those ADA compliant rules and regs. We have been working with New Mexico Capital Outlay to address some of these issues. For the most part, though, we're going to see if we can use ARPA funds. And then White Horse, Mexico capital outlay to get them an ice maker and for their dryer. Sorry, I already reported on that one. I think that concludes my report for the repairs and maintenance for the senior centers that I have listed. The other list that I have was the senior center appliances that we've received. For Crown Point Agency, Baca Senior Center received a freezer. Bread Springs received a steam table, refrigerator, and a rack. Ayampato received a refrigerator and a freezer. Lake Valley received a refrigerator, freezer, milk chest, meat slicer, blender, and cutting boards. Ojo Encino received a refrigerator. Pinedale received a refrigerator, conventional oven. Pueblo Pintado received a stove. Standing Rock received a refrigerator, food warmer, some pots and pans, and a freezer. Shiprock Hogback Senior Center received a cooking range, an ice maker, microwave, refrigerator, and a table. And then Baclabato Senior Center received a stove. Herfano Senior Center received a stove. Annis Senior Center, we're waiting on the delivery of a refrigerator. Red Mesa, same thing, we're waiting on the delivery of a refrigerator. Tuba City, for Kaibito Senior Center, they received a refrigerator. Bird Springs received a refrigerator. Inscription House received a stove. Ojeto received a stove. Chinle Agency has not received anything just yet, only because of working with the different sources, but we are in the meantime working with Title VI to try to get them some non-capital equipment such as stoves and ice chests. Fort Defiance Agency, Mexican Springs received a stove. Sawmill received a refrigerator. So that concludes my report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Chair?
Honorable Slater, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jones. On my end, the connection cut out when you were talking about Rough Rock, but I think you mentioned it in your report. I tried to schedule a meeting last week, but the litigation update, among many other conflicting items, got in the way. But for Rough Rock, we really need to find a way for the senior center program and services to move into the chapter temporarily so that the renovation can take place. And the community does not want the services to be relocated to mini farms or elsewhere. Now, the issue is that the chapter has not reopened since its closure for its renovation. And I ask you to reinitiate that meeting and coordinate with the Division of Community Development to figure out how we can get the services over there as soon as possible. And I or my LDA will be available for that meeting if you're able to organize it as soon as possible. So it's not your fault on the chapter side, but in terms of the continuity of services, we really need that done. And then could you compile a listing, I guess for myself, but I think it'd be beneficial for the committee too, of the needed repairs and estimated costs for those repairs or renovations at each of our senior centers. And it's something that we could potentially go after in the budget cycle if there's carryover funds that are permitted or some other funding sources. And the last request is, you mentioned going after ARPA for some of these. And can you clarify whether you are talking about ARPA monies that were made available directly to the program or the fiscal relief fund monies that came to the Navajo Nation. If it's the latter, then this is the first that I'm hearing about them being used for these purposes. And it'd be really important for the committee and leadership in general to have a, what would the word be? Sort of a review that identifies the legal eligibility and where exactly that comes from in the interim final rule so that we can piece together the entire ARPA funding program. And then with respect to those repairs or renovations, would the program deliver them or would they be taken over by CPND or none of the above? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Slater. Before we move on, could legislative staff reach out to Mr. Tom Platero with General Services, Division of General Services? The reason I'm saying that is some of these facilities are listed as tribal assets, and the chapters pay the insurance on them. And just to give you an example, Pueblo Pintado chapter for many years had been experiencing a roof leaking, and it hadn't been cited by the OEH. And the water was leaking directly into ceiling light fixtures, leaking into the wall heater. And so I asked for an OEH evaluation. That was conducted. I initiated it with Mr. Herman Shorty. He referred it to the Office of NOSHA, Navajo Office of Safety and Health Administration. NOSHA evaluated, and from there, since they had insurance company or insurance coverage, then monies was made available to repair and fix those items. So in that respect, there is insurance coverage if those facilities are listed as tribal assets and the chapter pays the insurance. So in that respect, what I'm saying is, Ms. Jones, explore those possibilities. Because we do have insurance, the chapters are expending insurance monies for their maintaining of the buildings. Committee members and Ms. Jones, in response to Honorable Slater's request. You have
Thank
the
you.
teleconference list. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Slater and Honorable. So between the Senior Center and the chapter, I think we need to also establish agreements between the two entities. At this point in time, I feel like we don't have any real solid agreement between the Senior Center and the chapters. And I'm just new coming into all of this, so I'm just unpeeling so-called onion within Daltex. And so right now, these agreements are, I think have been in the past, have always been taking place between the chapter coordinator and the senior center supervisor, which all boils down to the dynamic of that relationship. So if it's a good relationship, I think it goes through smoothly. But if no one is in agreement and they don't get along, then it's a different story. So that's something that I would like to discuss with you all, and perhaps with Dr. Jim as well, to see if we can hold these conversations at a higher level, perhaps between me and the DOJ representative for the chapters. I'm not sure how you all feel about that, but I'd like to bring that up. And then as far as ARPA money, we are taking a look at the fiscal relief that is going to be provided to the Navajo Nation. And we are looking at CPMDP to take over the construction side of this, because within Daltex, we do not have any maintenance people. We do not have construction skills or that experience in our purview here. So we would be reaching out to CPMD certainly for any new construction, any repairs. I think that has been the holdup for a lot of these projects, is just the fact that we don't have someone solely dedicated to this program, and doing a service contract will take some time, an enormous amount of time. Even with the sanitation issue that we had just recently, I had asked for an emergency procurement with that situation, and I didn't get approval for everything until about a month later. So there's just, in my eyes, within the Navajo Nation financial system, there's just no sense of urgency, and I don't know why that is, but I'm just, as I said, I'm new and I'm making this known right now. And then I can compile that list. It turns out to be probably about $40 million, $50 million at least, when it comes down to the total repairs of all of our senior centers, all of them. And then, Honorable Slater, I will go ahead and coordinate that meeting with Community Development and your LDA and see when we can start conversations around Rough Rock Senior Center. Thank you.
Chair Salona.
Honorable Halona, I was muted to keep your dogs from barking. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. You have the floor, Honorable Halona.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Chair. I have a few concerns on some of the senior centers in my area as well. First of all, I'm not sure yet if you guys had hired on a permanent supervisor yet for Tohatchee. The supervisor had left there, maybe now, it's been probably 2 or 3 months now. And they just had an acting supervisor for Tohatchee chapter as well as Mexican Springs. So that's number one. Number two is I know that we were trying to address leaky roof over there at Mexican Springs at the senior center in Mexican Springs, and I don't think that ever got done. I was working with Mr. Asiret when he was here to address those situations, and then since he's left, I haven't had any conversation with anybody. I've been meaning to get a hold of Tom Botero to find out if he knows anything about it, but we need to see. I don't think that ever got completed. Number three is at Twin Lakes chapter, Twin Lakes Senior Center. They were running, had a plan to addition on that senior center. Wondering what's the holdup on that, because they finally got established that they were going to go ahead and move forward with spend the money to add on addition there. Number four would be Coyote Canyon Chapter House. Coyote Canyon has remodeled a chapter senior center over there, and when they did the remodeling, I don't know where they didn't include furniture, tables and chairs and lounge chairs and stuff like that to for the whole senior center. And they were trying to get funding for that. I don't know if anybody had ever was successful and to get funding from the state. Again, that was another one that Mr. Asheret was working on with me because he was working on the remodeling. And so I'm curious to find out if you know anything about those situations. If not, we need to put that on your radar and see where we're at with those and need to get repairs done. We need to get the addition done. The addition is coming up around where the funding is going to be returned back. I don't know how we're going to extend that. So those are my four questions I have right now. I know Senior Center at Nash City has been doing pretty well. Of course, with all the COVID shutdown, they've just been limited. So, Chair, that's my questions for her, and I appreciate some return answers to see if she knows anything about it. Thank you, Chair.
Chair Wanika.
Oh, Cecilia, go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Ms. Jones, I know this is more specific to repairs and maintenance. There's two items from St. Michael's, and they reported the information I won't give you, so you should be aware of them. Number one is the air conditioning is out over there. And then also the roof is leaking. And outside of that is they only have one driver and they don't have a cook. So they've been asking, I guess, working with your office, but to some extent they're not getting the response that they're looking for. So they asked me to see what I could do. So I don't know what, if there's any plans on as far as the air conditioning being out and then also the roof leaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Halona and Wanika. Legislative staff, if we could also get the office risk management onto the call also. Again, the chapters pay insurance as part of protecting their fixed assets. And I really feel like a leaking roof is something that could be covered by that particular insurance coverage. Tom Platero and is it Harlan Charlie? Committee members help me identify the person that we need to be posing some question on risk management and insurance coverage on tribal facilities.
Mr. Chair, for the risk management, I have a supervisor to Shonovan Dale.
One.
And
go ahead, Ms. Benali.
Okay. No, for the risk management program on the website, I have a supervisor too by the name of Shonovan Dale.
If we could get him on the call.
Okay.
Committee members, anybody else? Not, then Miss Valerie Jones, back to you.
Thank you, Honorable Halona and Honorable Wanika, for those questions. Honorable Halona, so with Tohatchee and Mexican Springs, the Senior Center Supervisor is Mr. Jared Johnson. He's fairly new, still undergoing training, and his supervisor is Ms. Leonora Henderson. She's a Program Agency Supervisor for Fort Defiance Agency. Now, with Twin Lakes construction, including Coyote Canyon, those are with CPMD, and as I stated, the Daltex has to work with CPMD when it comes to construction work. And it looks like we have this fund open until 2023. So these conversations, we are in the middle of talking with CPMD and making sure that there is someone assigned, and I believe that person is Mr. Leo Barber from CPMD. I think last year, with the closure of the Navajo Nation government due to the pandemic, it really delayed and held up a lot of things. But the state really is just, telling us that this is the deadline, and it's a hard deadline, and we're working as fast as we can. And me being new and picking this up, I am making those calls and writing those emails and researching what we have in terms of history. And then with Coyote Canyon, it looks like we have some funds for that. We probably need to revisit that with CPMD and also take a look at our capital outlay funds for Coyote Canyon. Honorable Juanica, with St. Michael's, the air conditioner, you said it was out. According to Miss Leonora Henderson, who's a program agency supervisor for Fort Defiance agency, she said that the chapter would take care of it. So I understand that they are working together to address that issue. And as far as the roof leaking, that is new information for us, but as I stated, we would have to work with CPMD to get that project started. And then as far as the driver and the cook, we will have to make sure that the supervisor gets those services and ensures that the services continue with that community. Thank you.
Chair Salona?
Salona, you have follow?
Yeah, I have follow. I want to bring up the separation between the chapters and the senior centers. Most of them, the way I understand it, is like for Tohatchee chapter, the building in the chapter where the senior center is belongs to the chapter. And so you are correct that there's no MOA or MOU between the two, and as well as the same as Twin Lakes. And I know the president over there at Twin Lakes has been addressing that. They had been separated for a long time, and when the new president, Norman John, came on, he was addressing that situation. So the way I understand it is that if the chapter house has authority over the buildings, if they're on the same property. So I want to get that cleared up as well, because we here at Tohatchee chapter, when something happens at the chapter house of the senior citizen, the chapter has been reluctant to move forward and try to get funds for them to even replace the lights or either floor tiles or any kind of repair maintenance that needs to happen to the building. It's in my understanding that the chapter is responsible for that because the buildings belong to the chapter. So I don't know how, I've never seen any MOAs or any MOUs explaining that process. And so most of the chapters in my area, they're separate. So I just wanted to bring that out and see what we can do about getting it settled so that they know who's taking care of what, and if they need to move forward with funds to help them repair maintenance on the buildings that they're in charge of. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Halona. Ms. Jones?
Thank you, Honorable Halona. Yes, we are, that's why I brought up the whole agreements between the chapter and the senior centers. The template that we've been provided, Daltex has been provided from DOJ, was the Intergovernmental Office Space Use Agreement, the IOSUA. And that's the template that we have provided to the program agency supervisors in every agency, Shiprock, Tuba City, Fort Defiance, Chinle, and Crown Point. Now, these program supervisors then forward these templates to the senior center supervisors, and the senior center supervisors then take this template to the chapter to negotiate, to discuss, and if there are any big issues that pop up when the discussion, then the program supervisor is brought in. But as I stated, you know, the relationship between the individuals with the chapter and the senior center, it comes down to how well those relationships are and ensuring that these agreements get processed. But right now, this template that I'm talking about, the IOSUA, we just got that template just recently and had emailed that out about a month ago. So they're still working on it, and I think for some of them it's very new, it's very vague. There's a lot of legal language in it, hence my question about how much higher up do we need to get these conversations to? And then I don't know if there needs to be a legislation that needs to get processed through this, but I defer to your expertise for that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, Mr. Donovan Dale from Risk Management is on the line.
Thank you. Ms. Committee members, any other comments regarding facilities? Committee members, this agreement sits in the same, I guess, what Head Start also deals with. And the was either an IGA, intergovernmental agreement, or an MOU. And over there, the same situation exists. Only a few of the chapters have agreed, and the balance are not in there. Those adopted. Okay, on this side, we have a new generated from Department of Justice. Ms. Jones, that draft or the blank agreement, please share it with the committee members so that at least we can talk about it with our chapters within the district.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I will do. Hello?
Hello, we're still on the line. I believe Chair So's call might have dropped. I'm looking for him on the participant listing.
Thank you.
Excuse me, this is Angelita Benally. Vice Chair Slater, are you available to run the meeting? I believe Mr. Chair So's call did drop.
I was trying to drive into Chinle so I could catch the
Okay.
portion.
Okay.
Does it end at 11 or does it end at 12? Well, in any event, if you can hear me, I'm sure the background noise is intolerable, but let's keep moving. Ms. Jones, I think you've answered all the questions. Committee members, do we have any further questions or comments on this report? Going twice? Going 3 times?
Oh, Vice Chair Slater, Chair So had requested Tom Platero to join the meeting, as well as Shonovan Dale from Risk Management, and they are on the line. They are available.
Committee members, do you have any questions for Mr. Dale or Mr. Platero? Mr. Dale or Mr. Patera, did you prepare a report for today's meeting?
Hello, this is Delegate Daniel So back on the call. I got kicked off.
Fantastic. I'll hand back over to Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, strange. Okay. And I'm sitting still, so I don't know what the aspect is. Let's see, where are we since I was off the line about 3 minutes?
Chairman So, Tom Platero and Shonovan Dale, they're both on the line. They're available on the line. If you have your questions to them, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benali. Mr. Platero, Mr. Dale. I was just relaying to the committee how the office spaces at Pueblo Pintado got repaired. I had initiated a contact with Herman Shorty about leaking roof onto light fixtures and smell of propane and water leaking into the heater. Mr. Shorty contacted NOSHA. NOSHA went and did the evaluation, and from there, I think it was through risk management, the fixed asset insurance protection was used to basically fix the roof and replace light fixtures, redo the walls, those types of things. Okay, right now we're receiving a report from Ms. Valerie Jones regarding several senior centers throughout the Navajo Nation that are experiencing facilities issues. And senior centers are listed as fixed assets, and they pay the insurance coverage for those fixed assets. Now, how do we access in proceeds of the insurance to fix these facilities? Mr. Platero, Mr. Dale.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'll need to defer to Mr. Dale on this. Mr. Dale?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Honorable So, Mr. Platero, thank you again. Committee members, thank you for the question as well. So with Pueblo Pintado, well, let me step back a little bit. With all buildings, with all property the Navajo Nation owns, the Navajo Nation pays the premium. The government pays the fixed costs or allocates the fixed costs to pay the premiums. There's only one chapter that pays their own property premiums, which is Nahatatzi, because those buildings were assigned to them or transferred to them, not the nation. So they're the only chapter that pays their premiums on buildings. As far as programs, no program pays the property premiums. The only premiums they do pay is the property contents, what's inside the facility. So the premiums are paid in that fashion. With Pueblo Pintado, that was a claim that was submitted to our office. The claim was accepted because it was a covered loss. A covered loss can mean severe storm, windstorm, hail, tornado, fire, vandalism, property damage, frozen water line that may have occurred, plumbing fixtures. Those are some of the things that are a covered loss. Not everything is a covered loss. In particular, the lack of maintenance. A lot of the facilities that in AAA, senior centers, Head Start, even Navajo Nation, and even Navajo Nation programs have are claims relating to a lack of maintenance. In our guiding policies, every year we renew our policies. We use the policy declarations, and maintenance is excluded. And by maintenance, it's preventative maintenance, repairing your roofs, patching, sealing, recoating. Anything you would do to prevent damage is preventative maintenance. Take your vehicle, for instance. If you drive your vehicle nonstop without changing oil, without changing your tires, without checking your fluids, without replacing your gas, eventually your vehicle will give up. A lot of our buildings are in that situation. We don't do preventative maintenance. We don't allocate monies for preventative maintenance. So things just fall apart, they wear out, they deteriorate. Those are excluded losses. Those are excluded those are excluded items in our policy. So when a program submits a leaking roof, our investigator, our construction inspector will go on site. And if it's just because that the roofing paper peeled off over the winter or over the summer and never has been fixed, and now water is leaking through there, that's classified as a lack of maintenance. If your rain gutter fills up with debris and sand and trees are growing out of it, causing the water to leak into your building, that is a lack of maintenance. So a lot of our buildings are in that situation, which excludes our coverage to extend to those repairs. It's important to remember insurance is not a maintenance pot. It's not a pot of money for maintenance or upkeep. It's for catastrophic losses, covered losses. And a lot of programs, you know, they forego maintenance in anticipation that insurance will cover the damages. But once our investigation, our questioning reveals there has been no work order to clean out gutters or no work order to seal up the roof or any of that stuff, then it's a lack of maintenance, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that umbrella response. Committee members, I'm going to ask that we vote on directing risk management to meet with Daltex to basically do a site-by-site review on some of these issues. As we know that the chapter pays their risk management premiums. Right now, the umbrella is, you know, it's a insurance response, but I want basically a site-by-site review. Committee members. Committee members, are we still on the line?
We're still here, Chair. I had a question for, I guess, maybe Tom Patero.
Honorable Helona.
Thank you, Chair. You know, I was, when Mr. Asher was here, I was working with him on all some of these repair maintenances. And I know he had told me that they were not responsible for some of these repair maintenances, and that the chapters would have to find somebody to come and work on it because the buildings belong to the chapter. And in some cases, the chapters evidently had not included any funds in their budget for any other repair maintenance for some of these senior centers that they are sitting on their property. So I was just kind of curious to see what your outlook is on that, Tom, and how much responsibility are you guys going to take to come out and do the repair maintenance? Because, like I said, Mr. Asheret did tell me that it wasn't really their responsibility, but he went ahead and pushed forward, help out, and help do some of those repairs. So I just want to see what your outlook is, and to see, you know, all the buildings across the Navajo Nation. There's a lot of problems. They're getting old. Mr. Asheret was supposed to be working on a plan or a what do you call it? Put together a list of what needs to be repaired, which buildings need to be condemned. You know, I don't know that he ever got around to it. But Tom, what is your outlook? Are you going to move forward with? I know you're looking at some of these buildings that, of course, you know, you've seen them. They're all dilapidated and like the old Veterans Building. It just fell apart, and I know they went out there and reconstructed that building, but I don't know what's in that building now. But I was asking him to do a master list for all the buildings that need to be repaired and get a dollar number, a figure to see what it would take to do all the repair and maintenance on those buildings. And to try to get a plan together to correct those situations, correct the problems, and rebuild maintenance on them. And that's all the buildings within Winter Rock. And I don't know that you have a responsibility for the buildings out at the chapters, the senior centers, the Head Start buildings. At Nash City, I understand we had a Head Start building over there that they gutted and they cleaned all the lead paint out, all the asbestos that was there. And then after they gutted the building, they were supposed to go back in there and remodel that building for this Head Start. And now I understand that the building is no good no more because of it took so long for them to try to get in there to do the remodeling. And I understand that the pandemic has a little bit to do with it too, because they weren't able to go in there and do anything to that building. And since then, the winds were really extreme over the last winter. And I understand now that that building has shifted. And so it needs to be just tore down completely now. And it's not any good. The frame there that's there is not going to be good enough to rebuild the building. So I have those questions right there, Mr. Patel. Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Halona. Mr. Platero.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I just sent you an email that has the plan of operation. I apologize for not getting a clear copy, but a clean copy by what I mean is that the underlines and overstrikes are taken out and the final version. But I just emailed it to all the committee members. I also emailed it to Ms. Benali and Mr. Mose as well. So if you look at Exhibit A, after the resolution HEHSCAU-29-12. This was acted on by Health Education Human Services Committee on the 22nd of August, 2012. So it's about 9 years old. So what this did is it updated the plan of operation for facilities maintenance. If you go under Exhibit A and you go to the second page and you go under 10, there are certain limitations of what we can and cannot do underneath this plan of operation. I had an interesting meeting with Delegate Eugene So yesterday. He's bringing up concerns on ADA access, which was part of the legislative concerns that were brought up. And he is very concerned about the plan of operation for facilities maintenance. But if you look at 10, actually, let's skip back to 9. Under 9, what it says is facilities maintenance department shall not provide the following services: rodent control and removal, asbestos testing and abatement, lead-based tests, lead-based paint testing and removal, mold testing and removal of materials that are deemed hazardous and or require special licensures and equipment. For example, septic tanks, grease trap, cleaning and removal, fire alarms, fire extinguisher and suppression service, facilities, security service, fuel system repair installation. So anything that has to relate to those items actually should not be undertaken by facilities maintenance. I believe from the reading of this and the contents of it, this was done because the staff at facilities maintenance don't have the certification to work with these types of materials. Underneath 10, again, on the same resolution, facilities maintenance department shall not provide maintenance or custodial services to programs departments that receive direct funding for maintenance of buildings or revenue generating programs. For example, special event centers, recreational facilities, Navajo Nation Fair facilities, chapter facilities, senior centers, Head Start facilities, parks and recreation facilities, Navajo Nation monuments and parks. So according to the plan of operation, any of those facilities are not allowed to be on the maintenance list. So this was an action that was taken by the Health Education Committee that restricts what facility maintenance department cannot access. What I'm trying to do is in the few months that I've been here is we need to get a hold of the inventory. The raw data list that was submitted by facility maintenance to me indicates just a real quick run through. There's 111 million square feet of building space that the Navajo Nation has. That's 1,111 million square feet of space. The biggest agencies, I believe, are Shiprock and Window Rock, and I believe it was Tuba City. So what we need to do, and that's where I submitted the unmet need request underneath my 2022 budget, is we need to align the data sets of what are buildings that can be maintained. So what we would need to do is back out all of the ones that are related underneath number 10 and say that these can't be on there because there's a restriction from our plan of operation. Then we got to go in there and then identify what is on the inventory for risk management. We just had a discussion with Mr. Dale. The information that risk management have does not match the information that facility maintenance has, does not match the inventory listing that's maintained by property management. Right now, the disparity is, I believe, between 850 or so facilities to about 1,100, depending on which inventory that's there. We need to get that information all consolidated so that it carries across the 3 entities. The other part that we need to do that for also is fleet, the tribal vehicles that we have. The numbers aren't aligned there either. So we're hoping to get that funding that will allow us to do these inventories and collect all of the information so that your side, the legislative side, the executive side, all have the same information so that they can make informed decisions on it. So right now, just really quick, I know it's off subject, but we have 418 tribal vehicles that are no longer being used, but they're on our inventory. It's stuck between fleet management and property. We met last week with property. We're going to be meeting again tomorrow to see if we can dispose of some of those vehicles. Budget and Finance during the budget hearing on Friday evening indicated that they want us to do certain things, but I also let them know that they passed a vehicle disposal system that was included in the resolution when the former controller updated the finance policies. So in the same instance, this is also an enacted legislation that gave us the parameters for what we can and cannot do. The other question that needs to be answered is and the discussion we're having is, there should be we need to differentiate between maintenance. Maintenance is keeping something keeping something in line with what was there. So if you move into improving stuff, then you're moving into renovations or remodeling, which right now isn't technically covered underneath the plan of operation for facilities maintenance. We need to define who does that. We need to examine the difference between the plan of operation for facilities maintenance and the plan of operation under community development. Community development is actually given the task of new buildings. And the way I described it when President and the other executive branch staff were going to chapters is that with the ARPA funding, CARES funding, like general services doesn't come in until after things are constructed. So we have restrictions on what we can and cannot work with, the type of work that can and cannot be done. Then we also have restrictions on what kind of buildings are excluded from the facilities maintenance listing. So all of those need to be worked out. The other information that I gave Delegate Eugene So was that you have to remember that with the number of buildings that are there, the number of staffing that are there, at some point we're going to reach where we run out of money and not being able to maintain all of these facilities. So to that end, we need to create some sort of priority listing that says these types of maintenance services need to be provided first. We just met with facilities maintenance this morning. One of the things that we're going to be working on is actually upgrading the process of requesting service orders. We want to automate that process so that individuals can get an acknowledgement that their request order is in. They'll get an acknowledgement that says this person will be there, coming there on site this day, and then they'll get an acknowledgement that says that this work order has been completed and closed out. So we're working on multiple dimensions, the multiple levels in all kinds of stuff, trying to get this stuff done. This is a great discussion to have because I think we need to establish where we are going to be going with as far as facility maintenance. And I agree with Delegate Halona that we need to complete an assessment, but in order to complete that assessment, we need the factual data of what buildings are out there and who controls what and where, when, and all of that other fun stuff that goes with owning all those kind of buildings. I apologize, I don't have more solutions at this time, but we're really in the early stages of organizing everything within the departments that are within general services. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Platero. Appreciate that. So in effect, you're saying about 350,000 square feet of tribal assets don't have insurance coverage. Is my assumption somewhere close to correct? Mr. Platero.
Mr. Chair, to be honest with you, I can't give you an answer because we don't have all of the data. The other part of it, while we're on this discussion, is there's not actually a formalized process. And I did bring this up during the discussions with the ARPA money that's coming in. There isn't a formalized process that says when somebody gets a new building, this is the procedure for getting the building. This is the procedure for once you have the building, because we are having issues, just like the issue that came up on Nidoya with the heavy equipment. We're having issues getting the chapters to submit the information to insure those equipment. We had an issue with a newly acquired building that it took a long time for that department to submit their information. So there's really not a definitive process that says when a new building is acquired, these are the steps that you need to get through to make sure that it's insured. These are the steps that you need to go through to make sure that the warranty for those buildings are included as part of the construction costs. And then post-construction, this is when the warranty runs out. So we got to transition over to maintaining those buildings and the costs for that. Another example right now is all of those big public safety buildings that were constructed. Those, I believe, are running out of their warranties and they're wanting to add them all into the tribal listing. But if you look at another section on the plan of operation for facilities maintenance, is if a department has money or budgeted for a maintenance worker or a custodian, those departments are actually supposed to be exempt from it. And the other part that I let Delegate Eugene So know is that if you're looking for a possible revenue stream to cover all of these costs, you really should look at the indirect costs that's associated with a lot of the federal programs. You got to remember that federal programs are allowed to use some of their costs in certain instances to pay for maintenance. The other part of it is like Head Start. Head Start actually gets COLA adjustments. I used to work with Head Start for a number of years. Part of the cost that Head Start is allowed to do is use those COLA adjustments, I believe, for maintenance costs. I remember because my question was always, why are we giving COLA adjustments to Head Start? And then when the tribe gets a COLA, they get a COLA a second time. So in essence, tribal employees, say we have an accountant at Head Start. the entry level of pay for a Head Start employee because of the federal COLA adjustment and then the tribal COLA adjustment. And a person that begins as a accountant underneath Head Start, their pay is going to be different than an employee that applies for an accountant in another department or within a general funded position. So Head Start, in essence, has been going on ahead and getting double dipping COLAs, rolling up their federal COLA and then adding it in when the tribe gives the COLA adjustments. So that's why Head Start has their own pay scale compared to other tribal departments, when in actuality, part of the intent of those COLA dollars from the federal side, I believe, is to pay increased costs. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Botero. Boy, you're just opening other cans for the committee's oversight. I appreciate what you're doing. Committee members, anybody else? If not, the chair is open for a motion to accept the report.
Honorable Chair, can I say something? This is Valerie Jones.
Ms. Jones, yes. Please come forward and address the committee.
Thank you, sir. I just want to reiterate what Mr. Platero had stated. And when I read the Exhibit A, number 10, it says that FMD shall not provide maintenance or custodial services to programs departments that receive direct funding for maintenance of buildings or revenue-generating programs. I just want to highlight the fact that Daltex is not a revenue-generating program, and when it talks about direct funding for maintenance, that would be dependent upon the New Mexico capital outlay funds, and we have to work with CPMD for those issues. But I just want to state the fact that Division of Aging Long-Term Care Support does not generate any revenue whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members.
Mr. Chair, this is Tom.
Chair Salona.
Honorable Halona and then Honorable Wanika.
Yes, thank you, Chair and committee members. I just wanted to express my feelings with Tom Patero. I know, I imagine right now he has a lot of work that he needs to do, and I guess we have the right man for it, the way I look at it. I just through and get some and come up with some sort of assessment, overall plan. We need to continue to repair all of the cross-nation, especially in Windrock that are just pretty much junk is the way I look at it, and they really need to be replaced.
Honorable Halona, are you driving? Are you driving? No. Okay.
No, I'm not.
You're talking like a robot on the teleconference. Yes. So.
Okay, I just wanted to thank Tom Patero for coming on board with this program, because we need somebody like him that can really put an assessment together to work on our buildings and you know, it's all the safety issues, a lot of safety issues that I think we have the right man for it. I just hope he doesn't retire anytime soon again. So thank you, Tom Patero, for joining the team again. I just want to express that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Halona. Honorable Edison Wanika, you have the teleconference floor.
Chair, that wasn't me. I think it was somebody else that wanted to make a comment.
Okay. Committee members, anything else? So again, the chair is open for a motion to accept the report and to issue a directive to risk management to sit down with Beltex to do the site-by-site review, a leaking roof associated with an air conditioner that might be a new issue, and sit here and say it's a lack of maintenance. This does not sit well with me. That's why I'm asking for a site-by-site review. Committee members. Honorable Halona.
I'll make that motion and add in the topics that you had just discussed.
Thank you, Honorable Halona.
Second, Wanika.
Do I hear? Second by Honorable Wanika. Thank you. Again, Ms. Jones, share that new agreement that you received from Navajo Nation Department of Justice. And I don't know if that's going to apply to the Head Start centers as well. But we'll see. Mr. Platero, how soon could you generate? I know there was and I thought we had abided by it. It was the general call in the 2019-2020 budget to amend all plans of operations under the oversight of Hess. And I thought we had done that. Was it Honorable Halona that sponsored that legislation to amend the Division of General Services Plan of Operation? Honorable Halona, do you recall?
Mute. Vaguely, I recall some of that, yes, sir. But I'm not sure if I responded to that or not. It's been a while. I think that happened before the pandemic started, you know.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, committee members, we have a motion and a second with a directive. Any further discussion? Ms. Jones, please afford a time when Mr. Dale can, and yourself and your staff, I guess the agency, Beltex supervisors can sit down with Mr. Shanovan Dale to go over the possible risk management coverage.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Ms. Springer, a roll call vote on this accepting the report.
Okay, Chair. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Halona votes green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote? Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Edison Wanika, how do you vote? Honorable Edison Wanika votes green. Chair, you have 4 members in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you, Ms. Springer. That will be as Ms. Springer relayed, that will be the official vote on the report. So that brings us now to item item 6, old business, there being none. Then item 7, new business, legislation 0160-21. Ms. Benali, could you read that proposed legislation into the record?
Yes, Mr. Chair. You have your, you see proposed standing committee resolution 24th Navajo Nation Council, 3rd year 2021, introduced by Council Delegate Raymond Smith Jr. as primary sponsor. Tracking number is 0160-21. An action relating to health, education, and human services and Navajo committees supporting United States Senate Bill S 1895 titled the Indian Health Service Sanitation Facilities Construction Enhancement Act. And this legislation moves on to the Navajo Committee. And also attached is Exhibit A, which is the Senate Bill 1895. And Exhibit B is the support letters from the Navajo Area Indian Health Services by Roslyn So and indicating what looks like a general area information of the number of projects and the types of services and the budget, and a listing of the areas within Navajo Nation that this bill would affect. Also, it's a transmittal letter from the Legislative Council, and the public comment period was from August 7th, 2021 to August 12th, 2021, and there were no public comments received. Mr. Chair.
Okay. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., are you on the call?
Yes, I am, Chair. And so I'm on the call, if you can hear me.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you. Committee members, do you have any questions regarding this legislation? Chair's open for a motion.
Motion, Halona?
Motion by Honorable Halona. Who is the one that has the second?
Begay.
Okay. Honorable Paul Begay seconds the motion.
Here, I have a question.
Okay, you have a question, so Honorable Raymond Smith, you have up to 20 minutes, but please don't use all 20 minutes.
We know you well.
Cecilia, Honorable Raymond Smith, you have the teleconference floor.
Thank you, Chair So and Vice Chair Slater and committee members of the Health and Education Human Services. I will not try to use 20 minutes. I will use time allotted to me because I have B and F and we are on recess right now. Committee members of the Health and Education Human Services and those that are listening on board, thank you for allowing me to introduce this legislation, and I am in 100% support of this Senate Bill S 1895. titled the Indian Health Service Sanitation Facilities Construction Enhancement Act. This is a Navajo Nation government relationship with the United States and the Treaty of 1868 of August 1868 that we're utilizing to support this Senate bill. There are 3 senators that are in favor of this. As of May 27th, 2021, U.S. Senator Ben Raymond of New Mexico, Democrat, in concert with Senator Heinrich, Democrat, New Mexico, and Senator Sinema of the Arizona portion of the senator in the United States. The Senate bill is titled the Indian Health Service Sanitation Facility Construction Enhancement Act. Attached is one of the exhibits in this legislation as Exhibit A, which is lengthy, and it has all the SDS projects that are within the Indian Nations or within the Navajo Nation, and we're part of that. I do have an agent with me, Rachel Brown, who's working with Indian Health Service, and we can utilize her expertise on behalf of the Indian health aspects of this Senate bill. But to further talk about this bill, it is a bill that will enhance the water. As you know, that we rely on Indian Health Services to provide sanitation deficiency system, and there is the purpose of Indian Health Services to renovate water, sewer, solid waste, sanitation facilities that are funded in whole or at part within the Indian Health Service, and this has been within the sanitation facilities pursuant to the Section 1C1 of S of 1895. The Secretary shall award additional funding to the IHS. The bill here is wanting to provide a sanitation facility construction program such as contract, compact, to facilitate the sanitation system. The Secretary is to award $3 billion for the FY 2022, and such funds are to remain available until expended. So that money will be a blessing for the IHS to ensure that those projects that are waiting, pending for funding, some projects are shovel ready, some projects are in need of right-of-ways, and some projects are way down the list. So this $3 billion that is within this Senate bill is going to help within the Navajo area Indian Services. As the Indian Health Services of the Navajo area, we normally get around about 10 million to 14 million each year, which is a drop in the bucket. And I always go to see Dave McDonald at the Indian Health Services, and there's over $535 million of projects. So this increase would be a 15.5 million to help from the previous year, which is an Exhibit B of this legislation. So as Health and Education Human Services, the first stop on behalf of supporting this legislation, Senate Bill 1895, and then it will go on to the next level, which is the Nabikia Committee as the final authority to support the Senate bill and to help with the Indian Health Service Sanitation Facilities Construction Enhancement Act. At this point in time, Chairman So and also the committees of the Health and Education Human Services, I'd like to turn the floor over to my agent, Rachel Brown, on behalf of this legislation. Rachel Brown, are you available?
Hello, this is Rachel Brown. Good afternoon, Council, HES Committee, Honorable Delegate Raymond Smith. I'm here. We are aware of the proposal, and we have been working with the Navajo Nation on the SDS project listing for the funds that we are to receive, and we're available to answer questions. Does anybody have any questions for IHS today?
Chair Solana?
Thank you.
Chair, this is Helena.
Yes, what occurred? We had Honorable Halona. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, good morning yet. No, it's afternoon, Delegate Smith, and thank you for bringing this legislation to the table. The question is for Mrs. Rachel Brown on.
It's all right with you. You took the truck back. They wanted back. They want to buff it. I don't know.
Who's going to somebody needs to be at their phone? Mrs. Brown, can you hear me? It's Delegate Halona?
Yes, I can hear you. This is Rachel. Go ahead, Honorable Halona, Delegate Halona.
Oh, thank you. So when I know that at IHS, they used to have an office over there on the east side of Gallup, where people could go in there and apply for water lines, septic tanks, a replacement, and other additional projects that they want to get to get water to their houses. But since the pandemic has started, that office has been closed. And where can people go right now to try to get on the list? Are we just working through the chapters now as far as the ARPA funding is concerned? Or can we still go put a request in for additional water lines to be put in place? That's my question right now, Mr. Brown.
Yes, Delegate Halona, the Gallup office located on Highway 66 in Gallup, New Mexico. That office, there is staff there. There is information on the door and a phone number where applicants can contact the staff there, and you may submit the applications to any one of our district offices, including the one at the Gallup District Office, the Shiprock District Office, Port Defiance District Office, and Tuba City District Office. So our offices, the IHS offices currently are closed to the public, but the staff are there to meet with people that do call in. So if you do have a request for homeowner facilities, you may still submit those to those offices. So they're definitely still open to submitting the applications to.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Brown. I really appreciate that because I know I have one. Oh, I guess there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 families here that need to get a water line put on that list. We had a water well that we had a private water well that we were using, and within the last couple of years, since we had the drought, our well has gone dry. So I'm not sure if it was just going to be need to have the well drilled deeper, or if we just need to go and have a water line put in from the main line. So that's the question. That's the reason why I was asking. And I want to try to get on the list somewhere. I know it's probably going to take several years, but at least I can get started on it now. Thank you, Mrs. Brown.
Thank you, Honorable
Chair,
Hello.
back to you.
Committee members, any other questions? There being none, Ms. Springer, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Chair. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote? Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Hello, votes green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote? Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? And Honorable Edison Wanika, how do you vote? Honorable Edison Wanika votes green. Chair, you have 3 members in favor, 0 opposed, and Chair not voting.
Chair,
Okay,
this is
thank
Delegate,
you.
so I'm in favor as well.
Thank you, Kabeza.
Honorable
Ms. Springer.
Charlene So votes green. So that makes the vote 4 in
Yes.
favor, 0 opposed, and Chair not voting.
Thank you. And the vote will show as what Ms. Springer has verified. Committee members. And Cecilia, Honorable Raymond Smith Jr.
Oh, I'm here.
Thank you for bringing that legislation to our attention. Remember, Honorable Halona, this is supporting an amendment, and we were jumping ahead of the legislation. So it still needs the president's signature for it to be Joe Biden's signature to enact the legislation. So just to respect you, I did not interrupt your question and answer. Thank you. Committee members, we'll go to item 7B, Miss Angelita Benali.
Yes,
Please
Mr.
read the
Chair.
legislation.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. You are the sponsor to this particular legislation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And committee members who can Cecilia, Honorable Edison Wanika, will you serve as Chair Pro Tem to for this particular legislation?
I'll be Lahu.
Thank you. Okay, Miss. So, Chair Pro Tem, you have the gavel.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Ms. Benali, can you read legislation 0165-21 into the record, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair Pro Tem, you have your proposed standing committee resolution, 24th Navajo Nation Council, 3rd year 2021, introduced by Council Delegate Daniel E. So as primary sponsor. Tracking number is 0165-21. An action relating to the Health, Education, and Human Services and Navajo committees, supporting the implementation of the Tribal Remedy Framework to address educational transformation to meet the needs of Indigenous students attending the state of New Mexico public schools, supporting the reintroduction or similar versions of the New Mexico House Bills title, the Native Language Education Unit, Yazzie lawsuit, response funding, Native American Library, Internet and Education, and Yazzie lawsuit higher ed funding, supporting any future New Mexico House bill related to the tribal remedy framework in future state legislative sessions. The legislation goes on to the Navajo Committee. Attached is Exhibit A, which is titled the New Mexico Tribal Yazzie/Martinez Remedy Framework, a Working Government to Government 2019 to 2020. And after this particular document, as Exhibit A, attaches a transmittal letter from Office of Legislative Counsel. And following that is the posted date of the legislation to the public. We're starting the 5-day comment period on August 12th, 2021. And the ending date was August 17th, 2021, and there were no public comments received. Mr. Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Nally. Motion. Motion by Honorable Begay.
Second, Alona.
Second by Honorable Halona. Chairman So, give you the floor.
Okay, I had lots of select for members of the Health, Education, Human Services Committee. In early 2020, we had discussions with Mr. Regis Pecos, co-director of the Santa Fe Leadership Institute. And we had been apprised of the decision of District Court Judge to rule in favor of the plaintiff, Miss Wilhelmina Yazzie, a member of the Navajo Nation. And as the suit proceeded, then the professor at UNM, Professor Martinez, joined the lawsuit on behalf of students that were English as a second language learners. And then after that, then they were allowed to join the suit. And from there, the aspects of that decision came in 2017. And in 2019, 2020, and 2021, a 107 legislations that mention Yazzie Martinez in the body of the legislation filed in the state of New Mexico legislature. 107 legislation. Only 34 were heard by a committee of the legislature. Some of the legislations were never put on an agenda, whether in the House or in the Senate. They never saw the light of day. Of those 107, 4 made it through the House and the Senate and were signed into law by the governor, Michelle Lujan Grissom. Of those 4, $519,000 were appropriated to the New Mexico school districts. $400,000 $100,000 went to increase the salaries of teachers and did not address what the district court judge ordered. So in that aspect, that's the reason we held our meeting in Tuajile. The first presenter was the principal litigator, Ms. Gail Evans. And after that, we heard from Dr. Glenaba Martinez, who did the research on the legislation and gave us those results. And after that, then we heard from Honorable Governor Regis Pecos. And we know with the passion and effect how he views what the legislature needs to do. And so from there, we we've worked on this legislation. Mr. Chad Abeda and Miss Dana Bobroff, as well as Miss Insilla from Doty. And then we basically also provided testimony before a joint committee. It was called Rural Economic Opportunity Task Force, the joint committee of the New Mexico legislature. And again, we emphasized the need for funding. At that time, Miss Patricia Ghani, acting superintendent, provided testimony, as well as myself and Assistant Chief of Staff Milton Bluehouse. So now finally this legislation comes to the committee, and it will proceed to the Nabikia Kit to establish the Navajo Nation position. It seems like letters from the president to the New Mexico legislature didn't have effect, and that's how come we're pursuing this legislation. Committee members, we will try to put this on the NABI agenda on Thursday morning for enactment. With that, committee members, that would be the basis for my sponsoring this legislation. Presiding Chair, Honorable Juanita, back to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Committee members, is there any questions? If not, we have a motion by Honorable Begay and a second by Honorable Colonna. I'd like to go ahead.
Mr. Presiding Chair, I don't know if Ms. Gail Evans is on the call or Mr. Regis Pecos is on the call. If they are, then I'd like to give them a few minutes to address the committee. If they aren't, then we can proceed to the vote.
Mr. Evans or Mr. Pecos, are you on the line? Hello? I guess not. So I'd like to go to Ms. Springer for the vote.
Yes, Pro Tem Chair. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote? Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Honorable Screen.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote? Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Daniel So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniel So votes green. Pro Tem Chair, you have 4 members in favor, 0 opposed, and Pro Tem Chair not voting.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Springer. At this time, give the chair back to our chair, so. Honestly,
I can't answer till that basically takes us to the end of our agenda. However, I'd like to, the item 8, close of meeting, announcements, adjournment. Next meeting, we have the regular meeting for tomorrow, where the main item we will address is the Cove Day School closure and the ramifications of uranium exposure. And there will be 2 legislations tomorrow. I'm asking the committee to vote to request a special meeting for Friday. And that would be to address, to hear from Dr. Hammett on the Delta variant and the other variants that are starting to, that have deviated. And then we will also put on the agenda a report from Dr. Jill Jim, all the 93,638 healthcare centers, as well as the IHS hospitals, including Navajo area director. I feel like the committee really needs to be attuned to the ramification, because it may return us to a code red shutdown. And how does the committee best position itself to help in addressing the matters that Dr. Jill Jim will present to us, committee members.
Chair Wanika,
So, Cecilia, Honorable Wanika.
motion to have a special meeting on Friday, per requested by our chair with agenda items. Second.
Thank you, Cecilia. We have a second by
Honorable Begay.
Honorable Paul Begay. Thank you for the second. With that, committee members, let's, Ms. Springer, take that to a vote.
Okay, Chair, I can do that. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote? Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote? Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Edison Winika, how do you vote? Honorable Edison Winika votes green. Chair, you have 3 members in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Did you say 4 members?
I said 3 members, Chair.
Oh. Okay. That was Honorable Charlene So, Honorable Edison Winika, and Honorable Halona.
That was Honorable Paul Begay. Honorable
Okay.
Halona did not vote.
Okay. Just shot. Okay. Let the record show a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and the chair not voting. Thank you, committee members. That brings us to adjournment.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Okay, motion by Honorable Winika and second by Honorable Begay. No debate. Ms. Springer. Roll call vote.
Oh, okay. So what I'm gonna do is go to 22 Street there, go to Shipwreck Mall. I'll sleep there again, and I'll go Trump Home. Oh, okay. Yeah, you'll have enough time almost. Yeah, that's a good plan. That'll be the plan.
Roll
Ms.
call
Springer,
vote on the adjournment. Ms. Benali, did you?
no, I was just gonna ask, let Ms. Springer know that we can hear the conversation in BNF. Thank you.
We know where Honorable Begay is going to sleep tonight. Committee members, let's do the roll call vote for adjournment.
I can do the roll call vote, Chair. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote? Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote? Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote? Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Edison Winika, how do you vote? Honorable Edison Winika votes green. Chair, you have 4 members in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you. Committee members, we are adjourned. Remember, we got that Zoom link for the public hearing. It would be wonderful if the committee members could listen in on that particular call also. With that, we are adjourned. We'll talk again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for the regular HES meeting. Go on that.